5:30, we'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here. Danielle, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Reckler,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Self,
Here.
Mr. Merrick,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Ms. Parker,
Here.
Ms. Cordova.
Here.
And
Okay.
we have one empty position.
We have a quorum. If everyone would please stand. Mayor Pro Tem Cordova is going to lead us in the invocation, and Councilor Rackler is going to lead us in the pledges.
Please bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight for you to guide our meeting. Be present in our hearts and in our minds so that we do our work that is pleasing to you. Tonight, we want to lift up our former mayor, Mr. Ron Jackson, as he is battling his illness right now with his family. We ask that you place your healing hands on him and heal him from head to toe, Father God. We pray for peace for his family and peace for all of his loved ones. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With the flag of the state of Mexico, he is able to perfect riches among the cultures.
Okay, our next item is public comment, and we didn't have anyone sign up. Was there someone that intended to sign up that did not? Okay. If that's the case, then we will skip on down to our next item, which is minutes of the previous meeting held January 2nd, 2024. Those were sent to you in your packet. Entertain a motion.
So move for approval.
Second. Okay, let's go, Ms. Parker with the motion and Mr. Rackler with the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is discussion and action items. The first item is the action of the council regarding my appointment for my replacement in Ward C. I would like to appoint Mr. Preston Elkins, and I would ask for your consent to confirm that. Let's do it by motion.
Make a motion to accept that recommendation.
Second. Motion by Mr. Rackler, a second by Mr. Robinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Elkins, congratulations. If you would like to step forward, we will administer the oath of office and you can take a seat
Fantastic.
if you're ready to do that.
Sure.
Okay, Danielle will administer.
I, stating,
I, Preston Elkins,
having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of Ward C Counselor
of Ward C Counselor
in the city of Portales,
in the city of Portales,
state of New Mexico,
state of New Mexico,
do solemnly swear that I support
do solemnly swear that I support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and faithfully and impartially discharge
and faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I'm really proud, Preston, that you did not say, I state my name.
Me too.
And Danielle, you did that so much.
Yeah, then Steve did it last.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the extra chair I have to move, so you can.
Want to switch?
No. Oh. Then you have to move. How's it going?
Okay, the next item is because we've had a change in council. We go back and look at all of the city council committees. And so I've made my recommendation. Do you think I need to read all of them? You guys were all sent those.
Public wants to hear all of it.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. So, first of all, and this is again with the consent of the council, Finance and Administration, Veronica Cordova, Preston Elkins, Rustin Self, Chris Wood, and Dr. Deborah Stone. Public Works Committee is Oscar Robinson, Preston Elkinson, Mike Davidson, Steve Davis, Tom DeWitt. And then we've created a subcommittee of that Public Works that's advisory, the Water Advisory Committee. And it will be a subcommittee of the Public Works, but it will also include those members that I just read that are the Public Works committee members. And that subcommittee is Diane Parker, Eldon Merrick, Larry Levacy, Greg Privet, Ashley Flores, and we're going to have one of our engineers be a consultant with that committee. And I did not get that name today. I asked for it, but I didn't receive that name. So whoever that engineer is will be a consultant to that Water Advisory Committee. Okay. Planning and Zoning is Mike Rackler, Beverly Bennett, Matt Christensen, Scott Davis, Curtis James, Marvin Baca, Gary Watkins. Local Growth Management Committee, which we have an action item with that, will be myself and Veronica Cordova. The Cultural Affairs Committee is Oscar Robinson, Ray Cross, Pilar Morano, Krista Jones, Darylyn McLeod, Greg Dobbins, Jeannie Flores, Rika de Peralta Lee, Marisol Jimenez, Kelsey Prince, and Amanda Strong. Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority, Eldon Merrick, Jim Lucera. Eastern Plains Council of Governments, Oscar Robinson, member, Quaylene Parkey, alternate. Chamber of Commerce Council representative is Mike Rackler. The RCCDC, the community or the Economic Development Group, will be Rustin Self, Bruce Nixon, and there's a vacancy that was created just yesterday, so I didn't get that done. And this one's on my phone, or you already had it? Okay. And then the Public Safety Committee is the members are Veronica Cordova, Diane Parker, Don Chris, Gary Knuckles, Jesse Maurer, Johnny Montiel, and the Superintendent Johnny Kane. Ex officio members are Chris Williams, TJ Cathy, Brad Malden, Javier Sanchez, Janelle Combs, and Antoinette Brzezowski. Okay. And then I'm waiting on additional information on the lodger's tax because that one is somewhat statutorily and they actually have terms. So those are the committees for the upcoming year. I would appreciate your consent on those appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, a second by Ms. Cordova. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Some of those committees we kept kind of small because Finance Committee, Public Works, they're if you get much larger, it's hard to get together a quorum, and they do a lot of work that they bring back to us. So we try to kind of keep those small, and of course, we have to be careful not to have too many council people on there so we don't have a quorum. So thank you. Next item is request for approval of adoption and second amendment to the memorandum of agreement of the Local Growth Management Committee and appointment of 2 city council members to serve on the Armed Forces Support Committee. Mr. Rackler, we were talking about this earlier. This committee came about, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's been here for a little bit. This committee came about back during the time that Cannon was under threat on the Base Realignment and Closure Act. And so it's been in existence for that long. I've served on it for I don't know how long, and I don't believe I've been to a meeting in 6 years. But it's there, and it's something. So you receive these amendments in your packet, and if there's any questions, I'll do my best to try to answer from there. Okay, if there are no questions, what's the pleasure of the council regarding the approval of the adoption of the second amendment? The motion to approve. Mr. Rackler, motion.
Second.
Ms. Parker, second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Mayor, We do have the city county negotiations committee that we have the vacancy with those ones.
But if I recall, thank you.
Joseph.
But if I recall, the agreement was we choose their negotiating and they choose ours. So
Yes.
we will notify. I was on a Zoom with Amber this morning. I should have said something to her. So,
And I let Tina know that while we were in.
okay, okay.
There
And I'll connect with them to make sure that they get their
Okay.
appointment made.
Thank you. Next item is discussion of current water restriction stage. This is an item that Mr. Rackler asked to be placed on the agenda. I think we're gonna have limited discussion because we were counting on Miss Austin to be here today. Miss Austin is ill. We've got our city attorney is out with a family personal matter. So I'm certainly open to going ahead and having some discussion, but would prefer that. And so what we were gonna do. All right, what we were gonna do tonight is discuss this in detail and then put it on next month agenda for possible action. Or next meeting's agenda for possible action. So with limited discussion tonight, what we'll do is we'll put this back on the agenda with possible action at our next meeting. Okay? So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Mr. Rackler.
Thank you, sir. With discussion I've had with many in the community about this particular stage 3 that we're in. The biggest concern from the community and most of us that were part of the community before we became councilmen is that under the current drought plan, we should be off of it. And that's just about as pure and simple as you can put it. I understand there's one underway that's being written, but it doesn't really matter to me. I'm a stickler for rules and the rules say we should be out of it, so we should be out of it. I think there are several reasons this is the time to come off of it because we can test it. We can find out if everything we're being told is true and then we drop levels immediately and right away, then we can go right back on it, but at least we know. And I believe if we find out that it drops immediately in the wintertime when nobody's watering, then there's something else going on than what we know so far. So I want to see that test take place. I want to drop back to stage 2. And if we have to go back to stage 3 and call an emergency meeting in 3 days to do so, I'm willing to do that. And I think most of the council is willing to do so as well. So wouldn't be more than 3 days. It's my understanding that 30% of the wells are being rested. I think putting all of them back on if we had to for 3 days would give us time to go back if we need to. So I think we need that test. I think the community needs a reassurance of that test to know that we're doing everything we can to do what the public wants us to do.
Any other comments?
I do, if nobody else has anything. So I just like to add to that, I would like for the city council to have a vote if this decision is made in the future to go to a stage 3 or whatever, is proposed, whatever level to the same restriction. I just think, I can't drive it home enough that the city council should have a vote, not just one person, not just the leadership, 1 or 2 people. I know I was told publicly in paper, an additional 1 or 2 previous council men and women, that they didn't agree with the decision to go to stage 3. So if there wasn't a vote, I understand there's problems in the well field, but I really think that the city council should have a vote to make that decision in conjunction with the city manager.
Is that it, Mr. Still?
I can keep going. I just.
Okay. Mr. Robinson asked to be recognized, but I didn't want to.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'd like to. Go out.
I understand what I'm hearing from Councilman Rackler and you, Russell. But I think right now, the committee is working, there's a committee working on the stages. And they're in draft form, and unfortunately, the city manager's not here tonight for us to discuss it. And I wouldn't want to take any action until you had an opportunity to read the stages that are going to be, the recommendation that's going to be presented to the council. And I think some of the questions that you brought up about the council vote, et cetera, I think that committee, with Mike Davis on their committee, I think they address most of the issues that you're talking about. But I think would be unfair for the work that they put in. They've been working since October to develop a narrative for us to review. And I think we should give them that credit and give them the opportunity to present their recommendation. And I don't think we should make any, it's not critical that we make any action tonight. And I think we should wait until that committee present their presentation to us.
Mr. Robinson, I stated at the beginning that we're not taking any action tonight at all. This will be back on the next meeting for possible action.
But
So
so,
there will be no action taken tonight.
okay, but I think that my point then would be, we
Yeah.
should wait.
So. Let me go back to Russ. He was,
Okay.
excuse me.
And just to reiterate, I don't want to take away from the committee that has worked on that plan. I just know from my constituents that I'm serving in good faith. I am not in favor of just creating another plan to just put more restrictions on them, regardless of what it says. I have seen a draft. But I just want to reiterate that I think we should have a say in if we go into stage 3 or some kind of equivalent, whatever level that is. To finish up, I just think we're behind on developing our well field. It's detrimental to the growth of the city of Portales as far as getting investment into our community from outside the Portales area. I don't know who would invest, a large sum of money into Portales with publicly saying we have water issues. The fear is well outside the Portales area, and we need to mitigate that. Comparison to Clovis. I know Clovis has issues. They're looking for water, but you don't hear them talking about it or ringing the bell. And if in fact there is that major of issues, well then we should be diligently working every day to solve that problem. But the tanks have been filled for months. I just stand behind. I think we need to have a voice in the future for that stage 3 level restriction or whatever stage 3 is presented in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention that we had a town hall meeting on the 18th and discussed a lot of this. Some of the proposed plan that's going to be put before the council was mentioned there. And I asked a question of Sarah and Chris. If this plan was in action currently, what stage would we be in? And they both said severe, which is our 4th stage in the new plan. So it wouldn't really change anything from where we're at currently. But I also think that we need to make sure that we're presenting the data that we're using to make that call and have it available to the public. So that just in any situation, we need to have that data there so that we can actually have the facts in our hands before we make the call of which stage it needs to be. And I think the consensus was that we would be in that severe stage, but I was not presented with any data to back that up. So I think we need to make sure that when this is brought up at our next meeting, that data is present so that we can show it to everybody why that stage is the one that we need to be in.
Ms. Wright.
Well, I also was at that water meeting last week, and I want to make sure it's on the record that when we talk about this next time, we need to see more than one well, which is the only data we were provided was for one well. That doesn't tell me anything when we have 47. It was provided data on one tank. As I pointed out, the data on that one tank, the dates and the times were not in any way appropriate for any kind of graph that's statistically correct. We can't take readings at midnight one day and then 3 days later at noon. That's not a way to read data at all. The data needs to be consistent every day at 4 o'clock or whatever you decide, so that we can compare data that's accurate. And I agree with Mr. Merrick, we need to have data on all the wells and all of the storage tanks when we make those decisions.
Anybody else? I have a couple of comments, if no one else. I can't agree more with what you're saying with regard to data. I asked back when this first was instituted that we get an independent engineer in here and evaluate where we're at, because basically we were taking, in my opinion, we were taking one person's opinion about all this. It took until November for us to bring that engineer on board. And I think we were told, I think you guys were probably in the audience, and we were told at that time, you know, this was going to be April. Well, I agree that, I mean, my deal is, and what I asked administration to do back then was, I wanted to know where we were at by the end of next month, so that people can know what they're going to do this summer to replace, for one, to replace the yards that they lost over this past summer. And what, you know, I mean, you'll be able to water once a week and come back with Bermuda, or not at all, or whatever. So, I asked this morning for the name and number of our engineer, so that maybe I could have had a discussion with him today. I never did get that. I will get that and share that. And hopefully we can actually maybe have that individual here next week. I will ask if that's what we can. So, because I think it's important that we have correct data to make decisions. So, anyway. Next item is a discussion on EPCOR. Mr. Merrick asked that to be on here, and I will turn the floor over to you, Mr. Merrick.
Well, I'm not advocating that we just make a decision to go with that forward, but I would like to get in contact with them. I would like to have them come down and evaluate our system, look over our well field, look over our effluent water system, because they do that work also. And have them give us a proposal on what they could do for us, and whether they would be willing to take us on. You know, like I said, I'm not stating that we need to go with them specifically, but we need to look at all of our options and see what's the best solution to solve our problems here. So, and we can't do that unless we have contact with them and get them down here to do the research and see what they would be willing to.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I believe it also ties in with the last discussion we just had. It ties in with the water, here in a minute, the asset management plan and the things that we have that are critical, like 12-inch lines that are in critical state. We don't have the expertise, we don't have the funding to fix those kinds of things. So if we could find someone that could help us with those things, I don't know why we wouldn't want to at least explore the possibilities of getting them in here, getting them to evaluate, as Mr. Merrick said, and let's see where we can go from here to get some of those things addressed. So.
Mr. Mayor, we make a comment. I believe that we directed Sarah last meeting to contact them, to at least start the conversation. I'd have to go back and recall, but you know, exactly what we directed her to do, but I would like to know where we are at that.
I will tell you that I do have a meeting with Dan Bailey in the next few days. I have been talking with him. I think, Mr. Merrick and all of you, I think we would be remiss if we don't investigate every possibility that may come to us. And I totally agree with what Mr. Self said a while ago. The narrative out there is not one, and we have got to change that narrative. We've got to be more positive, and we've got to find the help to get us there. So, anything else on this item? Okay, we'll move into some action, and thank you very much. And we will put that back on the for next meeting. So, next item is, community services. First item is ratification of award of bid for airport layout plan grant totaling, $252,434 with a city match of $2,524.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We'll go to the first page, Ms. Chris. Second one. So perfect. So every year we get a couple of grants from the FAA and from MDOT. They did let us know that our airport layout plan is outdated, so it needs to be updated this term so we can continue getting grants. The airport layout plan is just, it's an overlapping map that shows what land is prescribed, what use, what buildings we have, what goals we have for building in the future. And so if it's not on that airport layout plan, we can't apply for grants for it. So if it doesn't have, we want to expand the hangars here and a hangar grant comes up, we can't apply because it's not on this map. This is a 99.1% match. So the city would pay the $2,500 out of the total $2,551,433.53. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions?
Kelly, this is just for a layout plan. This is for consulting, basically.
Yes, so they, we have the engineers get together, the FFA gets together, and the DOT, and they all get together and we do, it's a very in-depth map that shows heights, they do obstacles to see if there's any obstacles in the areas, and that type of stuff.
And this is required if we wanted to expand or have longer runways or anything that we wanted to do. If we don't have this plan, we can't.
Yes, this is one of the prerequisites they require for us to get grants through them. It's one of the required documents.
But we already have a plan in place. This is just updating.
Yes, so we have an older plan. They make us, I believe it's every 5 years. This is the first time I've had to update this plan.
So every 5 years, the government's paying $227,000 to do a plan update.
Yes, sir. And ours don't change much because we don't do some of the big matches that do the big development. But places like Clovis will have quite a bit of change in their 5-year plans.
Now you see why our government's broke.
Actually, Mr. Merrick, the government pays $249,000. $22,000 of it's from the state. Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rattler, second by Mr. Lopez. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Next item is ratification of a grant approval for $5,000 to be used towards feral cat spay and neutering program.
Thank you, Mayor Council. We brought this for approval to apply for, I think back in September, I believe. We applied for $50,000. They did award us $5,000, but we can still do some good with the $5,000. So this would be to be put towards a feral cat trap and neuter project. At first, we didn't think we were going to be able to do very many with only 5,000. The local vet was very kind and offers a huge discount just for this project, since it's a community and the city's doing it. So we'll be able to maybe do 100 to 150 cats. They'll go to the vet, they'll get spayed, neutered, they'll get vaccinated against rabies, and we'll notch their ear to mark that they've been spayed or neutered. We don't always have enough dairy, barn, or people who want barn cats to take them, so they do get re-released back into the community. The good thing about this is with every one cat you spay and neuter, they don't reproduce. So your future population's down. And then feral cats have a very hard life. So if they're not having babies to cover their own population, that population continues to go down. We do have a lot of questions of why do you release them? Why don't you take them? And that's because we get a lot of grants based on our euthanasia rates. And if we get all these feral cats, hundreds of them that don't have homes, and we start euthanizing hundreds of them, the majority of the grants that we can apply for, which are few, are going to go away. But these are considered very humane projects that really do help communities out. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to stand for them.
Any questions for Kelly?
There's
sir.
nothing humane about that.
Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Mayor, Kelly, how do you determine the population? What is the population of cats? And why is it so many? And what is the number? Have you had a head count?
We definitely don't have a head count, but there are so many. We have a huge feral cat population. We get a ton of complaints on them. And the thing is, if people don't spay or neuter their own pets, their released cats can have, I think, 3 to 4 litters a year.
So what metric would you be using to determine the success of this program?
We wouldn't do it based on the population numbers. We would do it based on per cat that we're able to catch. And then we submit it to the grant administrators to say, we did 150 cats. A female cat can have 3 to 4 litters, 7 to 8 kittens, and we're able to see 10 years down the line, we've taken 100,000 cats out of the population.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you gonna determine like where you're gonna collect the cats from?
So we've already started getting an eye out in all 4 wards where we think feral cat populations are. So we're gonna try to trap as equally as we can in all 4 wards. We are gonna get with some rescues to help us do the trappings. And we can't, if we can catch a cat and they're very friendly, they're clearly someone's house pet, they won't go through this program. This is just for feral cats that cannot be pets. And I'm hopeful it'll knock our population down pretty well.
So you're gonna be using the current staffing that we have, or is this?
Yes,
does this
so we'll have.
Any additional funds? or-
We won't need any additional funds. The vet said they're gonna charge us $35 to neuter the male cats, 50 for the female cats. That includes the rabies and the spaying. And then the volunteers are already coming in from current local rescues to help transport, pick up, and trap.
And for the grant award, we're okay just re-releasing the cats? They don't have any restrictions regarding?
No, they actually do want the re-releasing. If it's supporting for a feral cat trap, spay and release program. They're very popular with the animal groups and they're pushing them for them in New Mexico, which is why we were able to get this grant.
Further questions? Pleasure to council.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
We have 7 yes, 1 nay. Next is recommendation for approval of resolution number PC 2024-2025-01 for special use permit for La Buena Vida Park to be converted from a public park to a dog park.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is part of that life improvement grant that Ms. Joe McVeigh was able to get. Part of this is putting a dog park in the city of Portales. They specifically used La Buena Vida Park, which is also known as Cheese Park, in this grant because it's already, I think 2/3 of it are already fenced in. We do have to take it, we'll change this, Ms. Chris, to council because it was a public park. Its use is being changed. So we're here asking for a special use permit. This did go to P&Z and was unanimously voted for approval with for it. We did send out letters. We didn't receive any inquiries on this one. Let's do it next page. So we got 2 for it from public utilities, and the 10 we sent out to surrounding properties. No one called or sent letters back. So we had no protest, but no one for it either. And of course, it went on January 8th because they do have to have the funds expended by June, I believe, is what she said. So we did push this one forward. So at halftime, if you guys approve it, for the funds to be used. They are doing a small dog park and a big dog park, but they're still doing the engineering, so I don't have any other details besides that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Ms. Joe knows quite a bit, but she's out sick, so I'll do my best.
Questions?
So I know this is a grant, but have you done any projection costs on what it's gonna take the city to maintain this after it's established?
Once it's established, it should just be regular maintenance costs for your parks. But that would be a Stephen question who's not here, but we have not done that.
What's gonna be done about the excrements of the pets?
That is, we'll have it, of course, you're supposed to pick up your own. We all know how that goes. So it is something that'll be added to the city's maintenance.
And I'm sorry. Mr. Mayor.
Is the park currently for residents in that area?
Yes, we do. It's currently set up. It's not a heavy use park and they've had some problems in the area. So they're looking to revitalize it by bringing the dog park in.
It's mostly not used because it's a sticker park,
Yes.
and that's not gonna be great for animals either.
No, but the engineering part of the engineering that's covered is landscape engineering, the landscape architect. So that'll be something that they'll handle for that aspect.
Other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have one comment. We are taking the public part and converting it to a dog park. So that's the proposal.
Yes, sir.
Why can't why couldn't they coexist? Why can't we have a public park and a dog park simultaneously? Because, what, I look at that part and it is utilized. We got things for kids, the ladies have young kids, they go over there and play. So now we're gonna take that all out and put in dogs. And that area probably didn't get many response to your survey because most of the people that live in apartments and they probably didn't even understand what they got. So I'm just opposed to taking parts away from people and giving it to dogs. And I have 3 dogs. And but I taking a public park and making a dog park, I'm totally opposed to that.
Yes, sir. And I do know if I'm not sure if they're gonna see how much money it is, so I'm not sure if it's the entire park or just part of it. But I do know if they do part of it or all of it, it couldn't be simultaneously both parks, for safety reasons. So it would be a dog park or a public park.
But the reading says convert to a dog park, meaning change.
Yes, so we're covering in that for that. We put the grant in for the whole land, but the engineers haven't. We only have a certain amount of money, so they haven't shown us how much land we're gonna be able to take over it. But I don't want to say it's not the whole thing, but it could also be half. We don't have any of the design work done yet.
So that park doesn't have any, like equipment on it. There's.
It does have cheese.
It doesn't have like a playground, like a slide or a.
No, I believe it's
or
just got
swing.
smaller
Yeah,
standalone.
standalone things, but the thing that's really utilized at that park is the little basketball goal. A lot of the kids do go use basketball goal there. So, if we could find a way to, kind of block that off so they could use that basketball court, I know that one is utilized.
I believe you could put it in as a recommendation that if you'd like to keep that, then that could be added
Yeah,
into the.
'cause it's a big
engineers.
property.
It's a very length or a long sized property.
Mayor,
Yes,
that's in my district. And I don't like what they're trying to do, but we need something for our dogs. And I guess it's all right.
Mr. Mayor? Hold on. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to see us propose where we keep part of it for the community, and I like Mr. Robinson's idea, keep part of it for the community and part of it for dogs. It is a very large park. It seems like you could take the 2 sections on the right for the dog park and leave the part where the basketball court is pretty simply. And they could just do more landscaping or better landscaping for the dogs or whatever, but that way we would keep the basketball goals and possibly move that piece of equipment that's in the middle section over to the left. I mean, if we can propose our own ideas on it, I think that would be great.
I believe you'd be able to add those to your approval for your special use permit.
So I was just gonna say, we could say contingent upon keeping the basketball goal, whatever equipment we have.
I think that if you want to make a motion to approve this, I think that would be proper and give proper direction to staff as to how you wanted to do this.
So how the motion want to be stated to convert the park with utilization of the equipment that we have there
Contingent on keeping 1/3 of it for
for public use. I'll make that motion.
Danielle, are you kind of clear on that motion?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson is making a motion that, yes, we can approve the plan as long as we kind of negotiate with the
Yes.
architect to keep.
Yeah, so a
Reserve
third where
1/3.
the
One third.
basketball hoop is.
For
Okay,
public, which would include the basketball.
okay,
to include the
yes,
rest. And possibly move the equipment to that.
yes.
So I
Made that.
have a question.
Time out.
Okay, sorry.
Does everybody understand the motion? Because right now I don't have a second.
I have it. I'll second.
Okay, so now I have a second. Now further discussion.
Okay, so you said that's like sticker park, so there's a lot of stickers in there. And it's currently fenced,
Yes,
correct?
the majority of it's fenced.
Okay, so like with this grant, it's gonna be just the dog park, so it won't have anything to do with the rest of the park? So
No,
we
ma'am.
have to get another grant to try to fix the rest of the park and re-landscape it and,
Yes.
okay.
For this, they just applied for a dog park, so that would be the only thing this would be able to go towards.
Okay, so that's just earmarked for that specific. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion now? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you, Kelly.
Sure.
The next item, I'm gonna say it's the last item, but the next item is notice of meeting and intent to adopt ordinance number 768 for annexation of property known as 615 West 22nd Street. Property meets all requirements for annexation.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is the one that came to you on the last meeting that we'd like to postpone. So we could get some more information for you guys. So we got that information, so we still brought it as an intent to introduce. So if you guys would like to continue forward, we can. If not, you can deny the intent to introduce the ordinance for annexation. And the application would stop here. Just for refresher, if anybody in the audience wasn't here last time, it's to annex the green piece of property. And then the city county borderline is that red line right there. Go to the next one. Not Miss Chris. The double take on that one. So we did look into it. There was confusion if the city allowed outside users. The city does have an outside user agreement. We have multiple people that are in the county that are on the city water. They have bored the road to already meet the city pipeline. We did reach out to the Roosevelt County Water Co-op and we asked them to send us a statement. They typed it and they included it in your packet. But they said they can provide water. It just looks like the water will be further away and more for the homeowner to have to meet it than if they attach to the city ones. And then the police, fire, water, utilities, and solid waste have confirmed services will be available at this address. So these are the same as last time. We sent out 18 certified letters, received 0 from property owners, and then 3 for utilities. One person did speak against it during our P&Z meeting. And then, of course, the application was postponed for more information. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And some of the applicants also showed up to be able to answer any other questions. Answer any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, I've done a great deal of research on this one in 3 weeks. I've talked to Ursula down at the co-op. And their water would have to come all the way from the Dora Highway. And there's not any other property that they would be able to service on that line. So it'd basically be a dedicated line, which makes sense that that's gonna be very expensive for Mr. Romero to do that. I've also had a meeting with Mr. Bailey from HomeSpot about this particular situation, and there's been a change in our structure in the city. The person that had talked to them previously had given them certain things they needed to do, and then they would get a city meter, and then that person's no longer here. It just seems, it gets real frustrating when it seems real simple just to tell him what the cost of a meter is and give him a meter. There are properties all along that part of town that have meters that are city meters, even though they're in the county. They're on every border of the county. The city can go 3 miles out and do that, from what I have been researched. So I don't see the problem with it. He's already bored it. All we have to do is get the line put in, give the man a meter, and tell him what it's gonna cost.
So that's definitely a thing. They just turned in an application for annexation, so the council can allow that forward, or they could say, we're not gonna
My
allow.
question to you is, if we want to go that route, where all we need to do is give the man a meter, do we deny the annexation?
It's up to you. Either way, he can apply for and get city water. But he can also be annexed in if that's his choice.
I was hoping he could have been able to apply and got water 2 weeks ago, and when this got back on there, we still haven't solved that.
Yes, sir. It's whatever council would like to do in terms of annexation.
What does it benefit us to annex them in versus just supplying them with the water main?
You get a little bit more in city taxes for it, not quite a bit, but you get some GRTs if they do bills. That being said, there's not much else that comes in.
Property tax and whatever they construct there, then we get some GRT from that.
Well, and that's where I'm of the opinion, we just give him a water meter. Annexing it is a better benefit for Mr. Romero. He'd be able to pay a little bit less in property taxes, but he also is accomplishing the ability to just get a water meter. And that's really all he needs.
That's all.
And I'm not saying we're gonna, don't get us wrong, we're not gonna gift the water meter, but I mean, there's a cost involved, whatever that cost is, that's been to anybody else outside of the city limits of Cal. But he's already done the work and got the board, let's get the thing done.
Mr. Mayor, I think that another way to rephrase the question is, do we necessarily need to annex the property, or can we just simply say pay the cost of the water meter and move it?
And I believe that's exactly what we can do.
Okay.
You know, he made the request for annexation, thinking that would be the better way. And
Are you okay with that solution, Mr. O'Leary?
something that was the only way that I'm gonna get.
so
If we can provide a meter, you'd be okay with it?
my recommendation is what we would do, I think the proper motion would be, and I know what Mr. Abby Soto told you guys, but I would suggest, because we're not gonna bring this back, right?
Right.
If we deny, it, the motion would be then to table the annexation of property known as 615 West 22nd and direct staff to hook him up to water.
And then when it comes back up, then we can.
I think that doesn't have to come back. We don't have to prove that. We have a process for granting an outside meter.
Yes, sir.
We're just making a suggestion that that's what they do,
I'm with,
but we're tabling this so that we're done with it.
done with it. Okay.
Mayor. I'd like to ask, do we have to dig the dishes or the water's already there?
The water's already there. If Mr. Mendoza was here, I double check, but we do have water there. So they would just have, I think they've already bored up to it. They just have to
So all
connect.
he wants is a meter so he can connect.
He just wants
Connect,
to tap.
yes.
That's all he wants.
How close is this to red line? When we had the issue, did we have, red line?
Not even close.
Not even close.
No, I don't believe so. I think it,
This is out in your area.
Just on the south side of town.
Not set.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Right, and the church that's right there on the Dora Highway with the three crosses. Okay. That's county property, but has a city need. There are examples right there in the same.
Again, this was just his request, because he thought that's.
Well, he
the way-
thought that was the only way he could
Yeah,
solve it.
that's the only way. to get
Mr.
it.
Mayor, I have a question. Okay, so this went to planning and zoning.
yes, ma'am.
They're making a recommendation to us that we approve the annexation.
Yes, so their recommendation was to approval, but we weren't aware that he didn't know he couldn't get water without the annexation.
Okay, so when something goes to the planning and zoning and it comes to us, we accept or deny their recommendation. Correct?
Yeah, but I think rather than deny the recommendation, we're just gonna table this issue, because there's no need to annex it. Period,
Or no need for it to come back.
or no need for it to. come
But,
back.
okay, so my clarification with that is that they should have told him that before,
Yeah.
rather than going through all of this for him. He should have been told at the time, you will want to annex for the purpose of this. You could probably just do this and not have to go that. Excuse me? Right, exactly. And we are so sorry for that.
Right.
So
Planning and zoning should have solved.
here we go. Right. So it is coming to us. We will not deny it, but we'll just go ahead and, I'm sorry, table it. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Can I speak?
Who said that?
I mean,
As it relates to this,
yes,
brief.
what's the cost between the city and being a city annexed into the city and water? It's not annexed to the city.
The
That
cost,
cost,
the cost of the water.
cost of the water. I'm asking a question.
The rate would be, if it's our meter, the rate would be our rate.
For an outside user.
And we have a rate for an outside
That's
user,
what I'm asking, though, if you annex it in, it's gonna be at a cheaper rate, is that correct?
right?
But he would also have to pay higher property taxes. So, I mean, there'd be cons either.
Anyway.
Good decision.
All right, we're not gonna debate it. I think we're here. We answered your question, so. What's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion to table the motion before us.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to table on this annexation, meaning that we're not gonna bring it back. And that we're done with the annexation. And furthermore, I'd just like to direct the staff to work with him and get him a meter ASAP.
So we'll get with the water department tomorrow, have them reach out.
So there's a motion on the table there's a motion to table ordinance number 768 for annexation of property known as 615 West Second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Hi,
One opposition.
Thank you for your patience.
Next is the, certified, the purchasing, department. The staff requests council approval of the contract with US Bank for banking services.
All right,
You're gonna try this?
I'm gonna try my best.
Okay.
So about an hour before this meeting, they asked me if I could cover this. I have not been involved in negotiations. I'm not a procurement officer, so I'm gonna read what's here and do my best to answer any questions you have. We were hoping Steve would be here as he's read the contract, but he's unexpectedly away. So when I say I know nothing about this, that is what we have. But luckily, this has come before the council before. So what we're here for today is to complete the procurement process with US Bank and the city of Portales for banking services. We're at the last step of this, which is the process to sign the contract with US Bank and the city. The RFP was sent out and executed through the procurement process with the CPO and evaluation committee, resulting in an award being offered to US Bank. The contract has been sent through our legal and their legal, and they're ready for signatures. They've both come to an agreement with the terms. So we're just requesting approval to sign that today.
Cordova, you might be familiar with this. Anything you'd like to add?
no, we did bring this back because, we did have to go back for, like a redo. Because there were some questions that did come up. So, they went through the process again, and it was still awarded to US Bank, so. I think everything's kind of,
So this is a result of
Laid
the
out.
request for proposals, as we do on ever so often with our banking services.
every 4 years.
Every year.
And then they have the option to stay for another 4 years.
Any other questions that maybe we can answer? Okay. Okay, it's a pleasure to council.
Make a motion for approval.
Motion in a second by Mr. Merrick, motion by Ms. Parker. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign,
I will abstain.
and one abstention. The motion passes. All right. Let me keep my paperwork straight. Next item is public utility, and this is a recommendation for approval of resolution 2024-01, adopting a water asset management plan for the city of Portales. Who is taking this one?
Online.
Okay. Ashley, you're on.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. I just want to start off by saying, thank you for giving me the opportunity to move into a new position. I'm gonna start off, I'm extremely nervous, but I want to say, Mayor Miller and Council, I am presenting tonight for the resolution of the asset management plan and the purpose of the document to identify the parts of the system that is at most at risk and failure that would impact the people most. The city has a plan for operation, maintenance, and capital investments where they are most needed, and in the major additions of the plan for the city council to adopt a resolution for the changes. As a living document, it should be kept current. Once the rate study is complete, the life cycle costing and funding strategies in the plan will need to be updated as the years to come. We just want to be able to update for the water trust board applications. We need to have the updated resolution for the asset management plan as far as being able to get the application approved for any further projects.
Thank you, Ashley. Questions? Mr. Rackley?
Yes, Ashley, that was a rather long read.
Where's the feedback? coming from?
Ashley, she'll have.
Ashley, do you mind muting? Thank you. Okay.
Ashley, that was a rather long read, but and rather confusing to somebody new, to be really honest. it seems like most of the things in there that are critical listed in there have not been addressed for a long time. I know this plan has to be in place to address those things, but what are we doing about addressing those items? And then the second part of my question is the spreadsheet real short that you sent out only listed 30 valves and 12 hydrants. So I didn't have any idea what the spreadsheet was for at all. That was in a separate email. I didn't understand that part of it. So if you could explain that, please.
Well, for the asset management, I'm still learning quite a bit of information on that in regards to as far as the inventory purpose for I'm so sorry, I can't really remember. In regards to the rates and everything that need to be looked at as far as the asset management plan. I could get you some more information in regards to this at a later date. But if this asset management plan isn't updated, then there's no point in me to do my water trust board applications that are supposed to be implemented by Thursday.
Nothing that we can.
Any other questions that maybe Ashley can?
So are we changing anything from what the plan has been? Are we dropping any coverages? Are we adding to it?
Ashley, do you know the answer to that question? Did you hear the question?
No, nothing is changing. We just need just an updated resolution for it, and that's just the pretty much signed by the mayor in regards to approving the asset management plan from last year.
Let me take a stab at this, Mr. Rackler, Mr. Merritt. I think this is the plan that's in place, just has to be updated on a regular basis. It has to include things. My guess is it's a lot like our ICIP plan, specifically to the water assets. So if we don't put these kinds of things within our plan, then, I mean, then we're probably gonna get demerits on our water trust board applications because they weren't part of our asset management plan. That's just.
So basically.
And I understand that. My concern is that if I was them, I'd be more concerned about the fact that things that are on the plan aren't being addressed. That would be. more-
If they have not been funded. I mean, we have a lot of things on our ICIP
That
plan
aren't funded as well.
that aren't funded as well, so. Any further questions? What's the pleasure of the council on this particular item?
Since there's no changes, I move that we approve this resolution.
I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-01,
Second.
second by Mr. Lopez. Is there any further questions that we can answer? Or attempt to answer?
Mine's more of a comment, Mr. Mayor. I just, like Mike said, I looked at the graph and the charts. I quite frankly didn't understand a lot of stuff. There's a lot of repetitive information, but I'd just say for future, I would like a little heads up. I don't like deadline. I like to think about some of this stuff. I feel like if we don't pass it, well, then that just deters progress for the project, so.
That's well noted. There's no further. Ms. Wilkes, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Okay. All right. Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
And Mr. Elkins.
and Mr. Elkins. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Bro, she wasn't on our updated roll.
So
First vote, okay. So motion passes there. Thank you, guys. And we'll see if we can't get you those answers and address your concerns as well.
Mr. Mayor, this would be a great, item for our.
Yes, we would. I was thinking the same thing, so. Okay. Our next item is project participation agreement for Enchantment Vineyards. Who's taking a shot at that one?
That will be me.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so the last thing on the agenda to discuss and take action on is the PPA for the Enchantment Vineyards LIDA application. This has been presented 2 different times in our most recent council meetings. It was the application, the LIDA application was presented December 12th, was approved. And the inducement resolution was presented in January 2nd's meeting, and it was also approved. So the only thing that was lacking, and we planned on having it available at the same meeting that the inducement resolution was approved, but it hadn't been officially written, and so it couldn't be. We had to wait until now, and it's available, and this is the last piece of this particular project that needs to be approved before this project proceeds. Most of the council members should be familiar with this project.
We had some discussion on this at the last meeting. It's just that the attorney didn't have this particular document prepared, so.
I think it was brought up the last meeting that this could cause some problems with the deadline on these.
I believe it. I think I did ask Ms. Hamilton that question, and I think we're okay. So we need to approve this particular agreement, even though we've approved everything prior to this.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the council? Motion by Mr. Robinson,
Second.
second by Ms. Parker. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
And I'll, just for clarification, I'll abstain.
Okay. Mr. Self abstains. I would just like to say you abstain. Under the rules, unless you state the reason for your abstention, we can't accept it. But also, if you can also vote if you state the reason that you may have a conflict. Did y'all get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in other words,
If
you're in the
abstain,
banking
you say
business,
you have
you
an
can say,
ownership
I'm in the
interest.
banking business,
Yeah.
but I'm not affected by this, you can go ahead and vote. Or I'm,
Have an ownership interest.
yeah, I'm abstaining because I have an ownership. interest.
I-
And just for future,
Okay.
okay?
I
Just for
abstain
future.
because I have ownership.
But just because you don't want to vote, Mr. Robinson, we can't. No, you have to vote yes or no. Okay,
Yeah, we have to vote. I know
okay.
that.
And I can do a clarification as well. I abstain because, I did submit a proposal through my company.
Okay, let's see. Just,
Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you brought that up. I guess I was lost on the fact that I was at the last meeting.
yeah, I get you.
did vote.
I get you. And I figured that's what.
And it passes.
Okay, sorry for that little sidestep.
Thank you, Mr.
Our last item is city council and staff comments. I will start with staff. Does the staff have any comments tonight? Ms. McClellan?
We're pretty excited. We were given another grant, that they already sent the vaccines, but for a free vaccine clinic. So on, January 27th, from 10 to 1 in the Memorial Building parking lot, we're gonna be doing a free vaccine clinic for December Cargo and HCP. We have 500 dog shots and 125 cat shots. We're just coming out of a bad flu disease year, so we're really encouraging everyone to come. It's free, so
Good deal. And you're gonna make sure that's well known?
yes, we posted online, we'll post it here, and as we get closer, we'll start putting out again.
Any other comments? Chief?
Sir, the poles went in for the photo enforcement cameras and right here on Abilene and on Globe. So hopefully the power and the lights on Abilene will pretty quick.
Okay. Anyone else from the staff? Hopefully everybody gets well and it's already, or has already been said. I'm gonna start down here. Sure.
Well, sorry, guys, but I've got a few. And I'm sorry that some of the people need to hear these suggestions that are here, but Part of the training that was very good, and I appreciate the city letting Mr. Merrick and I go to that and let us get the training on how we operate and why we do some of the things we do. It was very, very beneficial. But one of the things we learned in the parliamentary part was that it's beneficial for an organization to separate their discussion items from their action items. And ours are put all under one category. And I've been at many meetings where we have to ask the lawyer, do we vote on that? Do we not vote on that? Is that an action item? Is it not? If we just separate and say discussion here, action here, then we know when we get to action, we gotta take an action. That'd be a
easy to
simple,
take care of.
simple fix on our agenda. I'd love to see us do that. The next thing is I'd like to know, and I'd like to hear at every meeting where we're at with our negotiations with the county and with the co-op. I've heard nothing on either one of those in a long time. And both of those things are a high priority for me. I think our community needs to reunite, and not discussing it and not meeting and not negotiating is not fixing it. So I'd like to see us pursue that. And animal control, I know in my neighborhood, for one, there's been one black dog that's been turned in a dozen times and the dog is still in the neighborhood, and I don't understand. I mean, that's gotta frustrate people in the neighborhood when they tell you over and over again that something's happening and that animal's still there. It's to the entrance to our street and it's there every time you come down it, and the dog attacks your tire every time. And I know everybody in town has the same problem somewhere. So when somebody turns something in, we need to address it, in my opinion. And the last one is the school zones. I've been through the one on James for the last few days at 8 o'clock and there's no lights going. And I don't know what's going on with our school zone lights, or if they're already off at 8 o'clock. That seems a little early to me. So I guess that's Mr. Chavez, and he's not here as well. So anyway, those are my concerns.
It wasn't on this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Because I wasn't there at 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
And I've reported the one on Valencia because it goes off at about 7:55. So
I've got to talk with them about.
they need to be in
Sync with the cameras, so.
on for at least 15 minutes after.
Yeah.
So that you've got any latecomers or kids crossing.
Parker?
I'm looking to see if I'm still concerned about the lights on Second Street down by the chamber. There's still what the update on that and the status of that is, but I don't see, I'm not sure who looks at that, but we'll bring it back up. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I want to bring up, I had our city manager send all the counselors series of emails that I had sent out to our representatives and senators requesting some additional funding for our water situation. And I received word back from Mr. Woods, who's not actually our senator, but he's neighboring and was willing to help us by trying to get some emergency funding. So I've been in contact with our city manager and have given her some documents. Hopefully we can get a letter drafted up. And I would like to request that all of the councilors and the mayor and the manager all sign it. And we have a chamber dinner up at Santa Fe on the 29th. And our legislators will be there. And if we could present that to them, to let them know that we are in need of additional funding. I know we've got in requests through ICIP and water board funds. But as has been stated before, those are going to take close to a year to get to us. And if we could get some emergency funding and get some more wells drilled and get them tied in to where that we could alleviate part of the pressure that we have on our system, I think if we'd be remiss not to try to take advantage of that. So I'm just making a request to the council that if we can get something written up and that the council would be willing to sign it so that we could get it presented.
On that point, Mr. Merrick, I have spoken with each one of our delegation. I was called by Mr. Woods to come by and visit with him. I visited with him yesterday evening. There are no emergency funds available. It wouldn't hurt to go ahead and draft that letter and have us sign it. But he specifically told me last night, I said, are there emergency funds available? And he said, no, sir. So, but he was aware of your request. He reached out to me and we did talk about it. And I'll add to that here in a little bit, but on that point, I just wanted to say that about this time yesterday evening is when we sit down and had a visit about this. So,
And I reached out to all four as well, and two of them have responded, and I mean, I just think we gotta all put it out there in front of them that we're in a bad situation.
and I'll add more to that here in a minute.
And I'd like to continue this for a second. Mike and I, after we got through with our training in Santa Fe, came back through Albuquerque and met with the state engineer, Mr. Heyman. And he, at that time, told us that if we would try on our end through the legislative process to try to get some funds, that he would try to work from his angle to try to help us also. So we're trying to secure some financing for this, and we just need to make every effort we can to get it done. So we can alleviate some pressure.
Anything else? Mr. Rick, anything else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Robinson.
Mike, Mr. Mayor, I want to report the fact that, I read an article in the, Eastern News on the events of Martin Luther King Day. And I want to say that, the efforts of the community, the university was excellent. I think that the athletes at Eastern showed up in numbers. I think the paper said 400, but I don't know how many people was there. The numbers not important to me. It was the idea that those young men came to sit on the floor. But the ideal of Martin Luther King Day in Portales is a small community effort to recognize his work. And we felt that that day, that it was so cold that Martin Luther King was there with us. And people say, well, also that's crazy. He couldn't have been there, which he was with us because it was cold. And but the president, the students, everyone was just in tune with Martin Luther King Day. And I was so proud of our community, and especially the students at Eastern New Mexico University. And a young man at Portales High, I wish we had an opportunity to have him come. I would like to invite him to come and read his essay he wrote himself. And he's a senior, and I would love for this council to hear it because it's a piece of work. It's original, and his research was excellent. And I would like for the community to hear it because it was a very good piece of work done by a high school student. And I would like to promote that young man. He's going to go on to be a welder or plumber or something and Rose Community College. We gave him $500 scholarship, and he's appreciative. But I would love for him to come and make his speech and let it be read here at this meeting. Okay.
Oh,
That's all.
Mr. Sutton.
Yes, I had one thing, I had a constituent reach out and they wanted to see at the farmer's market, right across the street from Dora Knudsen. There's some pipe fencing that kind of outlines during the season, to kind of direct traffic or protect kind of a barrier where they put their farmer's market trailers. And it's hard when there's a need for parking. A lot of the business owners and certain employees park behind there, and it's hard to get in and out. So they were requesting or wanting to know if we could move the pipe to kind of corral that fence to where it's in one area. So the traffic, they could park, employees and owners could park back there and utilize that. And then when the time comes for the season for the farmer's market, of course, put it back, but
Right.
they were,
Just take that to Miss Austin.
Okay.
That's where I would start.
Okay.
And
I didn't know if it was her or
If you don't
Steve.
get any satisfaction, we'll bring it back here.
sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Lopez.
All I can say is that this is a time to politic for monies up in Santa Fe. And we need to work hard to do that. And one other thing is, I'm gonna try and see if the county and the city go together on CDBG. We can pull in about $1.5 million if we go together. They into the proposal for CDBG. The city can get 750,000 and the county can get 750,000. And it works because I've seen it that the county of Taos and the city, they did the same proposal because they needed to do something in the city, and they went together. So I'm trying to see if I can get the county to go with us.
What is CBD?
Yeah,
It's about-
Explain.
Sorry, I don't know.
called the Community Development Block Grant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and it's a
And it
federal
comes-
program administered through the state. And usually there's parameters as to what,
And that doesn't come from the state, it comes from the federal government.
thank you. Anything else, Mr. Lopez?
No, well, I'm gonna be in Santa Fe working.
Mr. Elkins, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. I don't have any comments other than I appreciate this opportunity to serve in this capacity. I'm very optimistic about the future and I hope to be a great service to our community. So,
Well, you
thank
don't
y'all
have
for
very
this
big shoes
opportunity.
to fill.
Size 8.
Anyway, along some of those comments, the House Bill 2 Junior money is no longer called House Bill 2 Junior money. That's where we've been able to get some funding for police vehicles and those sorts of things. The legislature changed their procedure. There's reasons that they changed their procedure. And so now then, those funds, at least the funds that are directed towards us, are going to be administered by the Southeast Economic Development Council, which is the COG out of Roswell. Just this fund, okay? The legislators had to turn that fund in today. We are gonna receive some of that funding for public safety. And I don't want to announce the amount. I was told the amount, but until I see it in writing, it's not there. So, and that's normally what they do with this extra money. Sometimes they've had that money that they can put it in recurring. Like a couple of years ago, Eastern got an extra $150,000 for athletics recurring. But this is a one-time non-recurring fund and we are in it. I think our three legislators came together and between the 5 counties that they all have to deal with, they've taken care of that and I feel like we got a very good portion and I'm happy to share that when we see it in writing. The capital outlay request, which is that you referred to as our ICIP. I visited, I think those are due tomorrow by 5 or Thursday at 5. Anyway, they're due this week. The commitment from all of our delegation that they will fund our top priority and hopefully maybe even our second priority, which our top priority was $500,000 for water. Last year, it was much larger and we were asked to scale it down because they were afraid if there's politics involved, okay? And so we did what they asked and now they think they can, they're confident they'll be able to meet our number 1 and possibly our number 2, which our number 2 is 400,000 for streets. I was told our number 3 priority was $350,000 for an animal control center. And I was stopped by Lieutenant Governor Howard Morales last Wednesday night. And he said, bring me that number by, I'm going to do everything I can to fund it out of my share. So nothing guaranteed, but it's looking optimistic on those particular priorities. Finally, it's House Bill 128. And there will be a Senate bill by Senator Cervantes. House Bill 128 is the authorization for the New Mexico Finance Authority to award the grants under the Water Trust Fund. We are in that authorization bill. So, and we're in it for a considerable amount. That bill carries an emergency clause, which when a bill carries an emergency clause, that means it becomes law the minute the governor signs it, which to your point, Mr. Merrick, means that we will have access to that money much quicker than if we had to wait to July 1. So to qualify the emergency clause, it has to be voted by a certain number of a certain percentage of the legislature, but normally this bill passes unanimous. So but that's in the works and it's been introduced. It's House Bill 128, Representative Herrera will get a Senate bill one day this week. It's Senator Cervantes, because he normally always carries that. So the process is going and we're in a great position in that process. So anyway, there's no further. We're adjourned. I'm sorry. You had your chance.
No,
you
you
didn't.
said I'm
You're right.
saving the best for last.
We're not adjourned. I'm sorry.
I just have a couple of things. I know that when we are going through all of our pain points through our water issues, sometimes our water department, they get drilled a little bit, but I want to just publicly thank them for all the hard work that they do. They are really concerned that we have potable water to drink and bathe and wash dishes and clothes and stuff for sanitation. So I just want to commend them for their hard work. I want to say a personal thanks I had a situation where I needed the fire and police department this weekend. And your guys did an amazing job. So thank you to you guys. Groundbreaking, we have the groundbreaking for the skate park. That was a grant, that quality of life grant that we have no match that we have to meet. So we're going to be able to give something to our community for them to be able to, to go out. So, as we are bringing down some of our parks, we are, bringing the other ones up. So thank you to Joe for writing that grant as well. A negotiation update, I can give a little bit on that. So the last time we went, TJ and I went to the county, we did do a presentation to them. They just stated, the county needs a city, city needs a county. We told them we totally agree. We did have the last negotiation meeting that Chad and I had with Tina Dixon and Mr. Roy Lee Criswell. We did have to where we were looking to maybe wash some of our services and just have like joint memorandums, power of agreements. Right now, when Chad did get, we do have to have 2 people on that committee to be able to move forward with the negotiations. So I will reach out to them this week so that they can appoint who they're wanting. And, that's that one. I do know that whenever I talked to Sarah some on the co-op stuff, there's not, and she did state this in our water meeting, we are not allowed to publicly state anything because we are in litigations with them. So that's why that has not been done. And then she also did update me on that Second Street. It is a photo cell that they're waiting on, and she's just waiting on the electrician, and she'll have that for us, an update for us at the next meeting. And Kelly, thank you for your visuals whenever you give your presentations, because that, it's something that the public can have tangible to look at. So great job. And now that is all.
Well, I apologize. I should never skip you because I got that away, and then I just got lost. So one other thing that I wanted to state towards something Mr. Merrick said. I did ask when I spoke with the city manager this morning, which she called, said she wasn't going to be here. I did ask if we had any permit applications for wells. She goes, no, because we don't have any money. I said, we don't have to have money to have a permit application. We need to start getting permit applications in so that we're ready to go when we have money and we don't delay that anymore. So I direct her to go ahead and do that. So.
Oh, I did forget to say God for the rain and the moisture. So thank you for that.
I would just like also to say that if our former mayor needs and his family need our prayers. So please include him in your prayer request. And now with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.